After the Last Supper, Jesus went to the Mount of Olives. The disciples followed him. And when they came to the place called Gethsemane, he told them,
"Pray that you will not be overcome by temptation."
Then Jesus walked about a stone's throw away, and he knelt down and prayed.
"Father, if you are willing, please take this cup of suffering away from me. Yet not my will, but thy will be done."
Then an angel of the Lord appeared and strengthened him. Jesus prayed more fervently, and he was in such anguish that his sweat became like great drops of blood falling down on the ground. After Jesus rose from praying, he went to his disciples and said,
Are you still sleeping and resting? Behold, the hour is at hand, and the Son of Man is being betrayed into the hands of sinners. Rise and let us go. Look, my betrayer is at hand.
And while he was speaking, Judas, one of the 12, arrived. With him was a large crowd armed with swords and clubs, sent from the chief priests and elders. Now Judas had arranged a signal with them. The one-eyed kiss is the man, arrest him. Going at once to Jesus, Judas said, Greetings, Rabbi, and kissed him. And Jesus replied,
Friend, do what you came to do.
Then the men stepped forward and seized Jesus and arrested him. Suddenly, one of Jesus' companions drew out his sword and struck the servant of the high priest, cutting off his ear. But Jesus said,
Put your sword back in its place, for all who draw the sword will die by the sword. Do you think I cannot call on my Father, and immediately he will provide me with more than 12 legions of angels? But how then would the scriptures be fulfilled? That say that it must happen this way.
Jesus healed the servant's ear, and then said to the crowd,
Have you come with swords and clubs to capture me, as if I were a thief? Every day I sat teaching in the temple, and you did not arrest me. But this has all taken place that the writings of the prophets might be fulfilled.
Then all the disciples deserted him and fled. They took Jesus to the high priest, Caiaphas, and all the chief priests and elders. The entire Sanhedrin council was looking for testimony against Jesus so they could put him to death. But they did not find any. Many testified falsely against him. Someone asked him, "Are you the Christ, the Son of the Blessed One?"
I am, and you will see the Son of Man sitting at the right hand of God the Father.
They all condemned Jesus as worthy of death. Some began to spit at him. They blindfolded him and struck him with their fists. The next morning, they bound Jesus over to Pilate. Pilate asked,
"Are you the King of the Jews?"
Yes, it is as you say.
The chief priest had accused him of many things. So again, Pilate asked him,
"Are you going to answer? See how many things they're accusing you of."
But Jesus made no reply. Now it was the custom at that festival for Pilate to release a prisoner for the crowd. A man named Barabbas was in prison with the rebels who committed murder during an insurrection. So the crowd began to shout for Pilate to release Barabbas instead of Jesus. Pilate spoke to the crowd.
"What shall I do then with the one you call the King of the Jews?"
And the crowd shouted, "Crucify him!" But Pilate asked,
"Why? What crime has he committed?"
but they shouted even louder, "Crucify him! Crucify him!" And after that, Jesus was flogged, and Pilate handed him over to be crucified. Jesus away, clothed him in a purple robe, and twisted a crown of thorns, putting it on his head, and saying, "Hail, King of the Jews!" And they led him away. They seized a man, Simon of Cyrene, to help him carry the cross. A great crowd gathered, and women mourned and wept for him. But Jesus turned to them and said,
Daughters of Jerusalem, do not weep for me, but weep for yourselves and for your children.
Now there were two criminals who were led with Jesus to be crucified. And when they came to a place called Calvary, Jesus was crucified with criminals, one on his right hand and the other on his left. Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. It was 9 o'clock in the morning when they crucified Jesus. The inscription on the charge against him read, "The King of the Jews." Those who passed by shouted insults at him, shaking their heads and saying, "So, you who are going to destroy the temple and build it in 3 days, come down from the cross and save yourself." The chief priests and scribes were also mocking him, saying, "He saved others, but he can't save himself. Let this Christ, this King of Israel, come down from the cross, that we may see and believe." From the 6th hour to the 9th hour, darkness fell all over the land. About the 9th hour, Jesus cried out in a loud voice,
My God, why have you forsaken me?"
When some of those standing heard this, they said, "This man is calling for Elijah." Immediately, one of them ran and got a sponge. He filled it with wine vinegar, put it on a stick, and offered it to Jesus to drink. But others said, "Leave him alone. Let's see if Elijah will come to save him." Then Jesus cried out again in a loud voice, saying,
"Father, into your hands I commit my spirit."
Having said this, he breathed his last. At that moment, the curtain of the temple was torn in two from top to bottom. The earth shook, the rocks split, and the tombs broke open. When the centurion who was guarding Jesus saw the earthquake and all that had happened, he praised God and said, "Surely this was the Son of God."
I want to welcome all of you here this evening. Hopefully,
okay, let's start over. I want to welcome all of you this evening, and hopefully something that you heard will give you inspiration for the season. You're here because God wanted you here. I know there's a message here for you, and I want to welcome you. Now, as we went through the Psalms, we went through the journey of Jesus as he went toward the cross. When we were in Old Jerusalem, we went on the Via Dolorosa, the road, the street in town that Jesus carried that cross on. We walked on a cobblestone street, no wider than 4 or 5 people could stand shoulder to shoulder. Along the sides were the vendors. The vendors the same as they were as Jesus walked past carrying that cross. Some of the people that watched Jesus were the ones who said that they were so glad when he came into town and they, on Palm Sunday, Hosanna, Hosanna. And some of the people were there that said, crucify him, as he was led to the cross. This evening, what we're going to be doing next is, we have one more song left. What we're going to be doing next is, when I light the Christ candle, is to signify that we have hope. We have hope in the Christ, even though he was crucified. There was that time when he rose again on Easter morning. We have the cross lit, and we have the candle, which represents the life and the light of Christ. And I'll be going down the center with the candle, and the ones on the inner side here, I'll light their candles, and you pass the light on your road as we listen very reverently to this last inspirational song. And then after all the candles are lit and the song is completed, we'll possess out, and we'll begin at the front row, and you possess behind us with your lit candle. You're taking the light of Christ out into the world. We'll extinguish this candle at the back, and we'll put the candle up in the basket. But that light in your heart, you'll take with you to share during this Easter season.
We are waiting, Lord. Waiting,